We'll now be going into our next presentation session on Fast Track's custom 3D printed orthotic with on-demand materials from carbon. I have with me Jay Dinsmore and Jason Lopes.
Thanks for having us. My name is Jay. I'm the CEO of Dinsmore, and we're here today with, want to thank our friends at Carbon and my good buddy Jay Lopes over here.
Hi, everyone.
Really cool little project to talk to you guys about. But first off, I want to thank our friends at Link 3D, Janet, Jim, the whole crew, Shane. I want to thank SME, TCT, our friends Angie and the whole crew over there for having us, and 3D Natives as well. So we're going to get into talking about a project that we've been working on for the last almost 2 years now. And I'm going to start off, I want to show a little video clip, a few minutes here of a custom orthotic for a little boy named Emery.
Sounds good. Here we go.
So welcome, everybody. Hope you like that little video clip there with the Patterson family. We've actually become pretty good friends with the Pattersons, and Emery, our little buddy. This project still continues to evolve, and I'm going to let Jason get into that in a minute. But basically, Emery was born with a leg length discrepancy or a femoral discrepancy where one leg is shorter than the other, obviously. And when we first met Emery, this is the heavy, clunky thing that he was wearing. I also want to give a big thanks to Flavio, who's a good friend of the Pattersons. He's the one that originally reached out to Dinsmore asking if there was something that we could do or to help Emery. And the first day we met him when he left, I said, absolutely, we're gonna change Emery's life and give him a better quality of life. So we originally started with MJF, multi-jet fusion, and essentially designed a shoe that, we basically came up with a lattice structure and bonded the MJF part directly to the bottom of an existing shoe that Emery had already, which worked out great, but we quickly realized that that was not going to work for him based on how active he is. Emery's a very competitive, super, he does all sorts of different action sports, and we realized that we needed to move into something else that was going to suit him better, and that's where carbon comes into play. So we immediately got Jay Lopes involved and our folks at Carbon, and want to give a big thanks to them and also to Adidas, because all of us production partners are not technically supposed to be printing or doing any development work with their technology with midsoles. So huge thanks to Adidas for all that. And we moved it into Carbon and then really started some heavy development, which I'm going to let Jason kind of speak to and get into that. So
I hope everyone's seeing the screen. I think we have a little bit of a technical difficulty going on, so I'll just start speaking to it. So when Jay engaged me about re-engineering this shoe, I had seen the first version done in HP technology, and Jay had described to me what was needed for this project. And I was really excited because getting to bring this project into Carbon world, for me, working in Carbon DLS, not to sound biased or anything like that, but I come from using Carbon DLS in a true environment of functional prototyping as well as low volume production. And what I like about it is it allows me to engage with the technology. I can drive materials, I can drive design that fuels those materials, and I can really just have creativity come out of the box. So for this project, we wanted to hit performance first and worry about aesthetics later down the road. We wanted to come up with a custom material that would be geared for performance and driven by the lattice design. It needed to be lightweight and durable, and we needed to develop a back-end system for staying with Emery's growth. And what that means is it would be great to satisfy this with the one shoe in hand right now. However, we wanted to make sure that every time Emery got a new shoe or his foot grew, we were able to rapidly just be able to re-output based on scale dimensions and some back-end scripts that we wrote and output a new shoe. So I'll go over the quick workflow. The first thing that we did was we needed to figure out the driver of the material. So we came up with 4 different out-of-the-gate lattice designs that we have variable throughout the entire testing cube. And why we printed in these cubes was because we needed to come up with options of blends. We realized out of the gate that a straight up one-to-one normal material wouldn't work for this. We did numerous testing. And what we truly figured out was that we needed to blend different ratios of rigid into an elastomer. So that's why you're seeing these 4 pucks here. From that, we were able to take our blend that we landed on, which we can't speak about here because it's proprietary to Dinsmore, but that final blend got sat to the side. And then the middle picture, what you see here, are the scans of the upper and the lowers of the shoes. So our friends at Deckers gave us the shoes. Unfortunately, we didn't have the CAD data, so we hooked up with SEMA Garage, and this was what was really cool about this project. It brought me back to my special effects, legacy effects days, because this is the exact workflow that I did for my entire career. So we scanned the upper and the lowers, and from that, we came up with our design space. But not only did we come up with the design space, the upper and the lower acted as cutters to be able to bond this back together for our first working prototype test. Now, there's one thing to realize about the shoe that everyone's seen in the video. Imre actually wears 3 different shoes. So it's not like we just made one shoe and it was one undone. Imre wears a sandal, a sneaker, and then another boot, maybe at school. So we had to think about it in 3 different designs to come up with this automated workflow that we can just constantly bring in a new design space, populate it, re-output it. So the middle column, what you see here is our design space, and you can see the cut follows the contours of the upper and the lower. We're also designed a little bit of a rocker into it as well. We needed to make sure that we didn't do anything that would affect his gait negatively. And from there, we populated the lattice, and it was pretty straightforward. Going back to the original slide, we were worried about performance first and aesthetics later. Version 4, version 5 will have more of that cool aesthetic look, but for now we needed performance so we could get data back so we can make future better versions. So once we used the Carbon Advanced L3D tool, the lattice generator tool, and that allows me to do variable density throughout the whole design space. So once we were able to print it out, as you see on the left, that's one of our first working prototypes. We actually just rudimentally just bonded it together with a special epoxy, urethane epoxies that we used. And it was about a 24-hour bonding process just for the first working prototype. And this is the sandal picture here. So this is the workflow that we established to come up with all these future versions. Full assembly gets finished on the right. And from there, we put it back into Imre's hands and deliver the shoe to him and get the real data back of how it helps Imre in his life.
Yeah, and speaking to like the standard, off the shelf, if you will, carbon material, this is just for Imre. He's very, very active. He's in the water. They live at the beach. He's mountain biking. He's got 2 older brothers that he's running around with and keeping up with. And we started, as Jay mentioned, this is just, for how tall this is, if this was more in line with like your typical Adidas, shoe, works pretty good, right? It's very comfortable. But with Imre, with how tall that, the growth, right? Like you can see the difference. He's already, as he's growing, that's getting larger, right? So this was definitely not going to work for him. And then to speak to our friends at Deckers, Eric and the crew over there, thank you so much for, I'm pretty sure what they call it in the shoe world, and I mentioned this in a video earlier that we did talking about Imre, that they call it a buck, I believe. It's like a master, like a pattern for the shoe. So being able to get this from them where that was already separated,
Yep.
From where we started with the first shoe, just taking the MJF, and MJF worked great to start, but moving into carbon, getting an actual true functional, lightweight,
Exactly.
product for performance is really where it's at. So, and going forward, being able to do this, as Jason said, it's basically like having a digital library specifically for Imre, where as he grows, we can very quickly go, no problem, we got you that sandal, a shoe, and a boot. So you got all things covered. And we're excited right now. We're actually working on the next gen for Imre, which is part of what this development is here that we're doing for him now. So it's been an amazing project. It's been so fun.
The one thing that's really, really cool about this, since Imre wears 3 specific shoes and he loves those shoes, we're able to get all of the data for future sizes and apply it as Imre grows and just output and have a box of shoes waiting for him as he gets ready to be, put on that shoe and enter the world with it.
Yeah, and really excited. I was talking to his parent Dan and Leanne about him recently on a hike that they went on, and they were with you know, some other friends of theirs, and they all took off running down this trail, and Emery didn't have you know, one of these. So we're excited right now. We're trying to fast track to get him, you know, summertime's here now. And
well, I think you hit on something that everyone in this conference doesn't know is, first of all, Emery and his family, they're into extremism, extreme sports. It's lifestyles like Jay and I are very much into and are a part of ourselves. Yeah. So it's not like we just solved this problem for Emery to walk and go to school. We gave this to Emery so Emery could be Emery, and I think that's what's really cool, and I think we have something special to get into here.
Yeah, let's do it. We have a special guest that we're going to be bringing in here.
Yep, I can't see the screen, so I'm going to ask Hannah if we're live on the video right now.
Hannah, do we have?
It's okay. We're going to bring Dan on.
Yeah, we're going to bring. So we have a exciting for you guys today that you're going to get to see Emery and the Pattersons, and you guys are all going to get to meet Emery virtually. So
good morning. Hi.
Which I'm super excited about. He was excited to come on here and meet all of you guys as well. And this really isn't, you know, the story about what we're able to do and the technology and Carbon and Dinsmore, all that. That's not really the story. Really what the story is about Emery. So I'm excited that Dan and Leanne were able to, you know, allow us to be able to get Emery to come on and meet all of you guys. And I think we're having a little, oh, is he? Okay, cool.
We just can't see him.
Yeah, we can't see him. Hi, Emery.
Hello,
Emery. Our little buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. How you doing, bud?
Good.
Good, man.
Awesome.
It was good to talk to you yesterday too, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't see him, so you're just going to have to ask him some questions.
Yeah. So Emery, so I want to ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind, buddy. So I know that you're very, very active and you're very competitive, like with your brothers and your other friends and stuff. So can you maybe talk to us a little bit about like what you think about your shoe and what it does for you?
Tell him.
And what type of things do you like to do with your shoe? Like activities, like what do you like to do with your shoe? Like what kind of sports and things like that do you like?
I like to play soccer with it.
Uh-huh.
What biking?
And how do you feel about the design of the shoe? Like the lattice structure?
Here you go, Jay.
Oh, yeah.
It's really light.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Do you want to share with everybody anything specific about about what you want to see? What you want to see in your working on for you?
See the next one. We need to jump higher. Yeah. Jump higher. Yeah. Jump higher.
You want it taller?
I think he wants to be able to jump higher.
Oh, you want to be able to jump higher? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully we can get you to be able to do that, buddy, with the next one that we're working on.
So that's where this really hits home for me is that
we're able to allow Emery to be Emery with this shoe and with this solution. And it's not a locked solution. As Emery adapts and he needs to do new things or wants to do new things, we can be able to help him do that, which is really, really neat.
Yeah. I can't wait to come up and go on that trail with you, buddy. Maybe that's a good way to deliver this shoe, yeah?
I think that's the best way. Come on up. Let's go running and hiking together.
Yeah, Emery, do you want to tell everybody, like, can you tell everybody, like, what sports, what all things do you do, like, as far as activities?
Mountain biking.
Mountain bike.
Nice.
What
What else?
Hiking.
Hiking.
Yeah.
I saw you at the beach yesterday running around.
At the beach.
Yeah.
Did you say these were waterproof?
No, the other ones. No.
He was talking about being able to do hurdles with his PE class, being able to jump over the hurdles.
I didn't.
Yeah, but you'll be able to jump over the hurdles.
Yeah.
With a lighter shoe.
Yeah.
Try that with my lighter.
Yeah, its ability to handle rocks, like rocky trails and things. I mean, he'd go barreling so fast that I was thinking, oh my gosh, he's not going to live if he crashes. But he's so sure-footed, and his balance is so incredible. But just watching the level of ability increase so much, you know, just not having to like yank this heavy shoe up, and that actually translated into his gait as well. His gait improved a lot because he wasn't like, you know, twisting his hip to like basically get that other, you know, get this one off the ground. It just looked a lot more natural.
And the other thing is part of his trajectory is he had to get a knee surgery in November. So putting on a heavy shoe after the knee had been worked on, it's called a super knee surgery. So having a light shoe to put on him, for me, in January when he wore a shoe again, was a huge improvement. He was able to use this shoe right away, whereas this one would have really hurt his knee surgery process.
Yeah.
We're
So heavy.
grateful.
Yeah.
Look what I got out of the shoe, or out of the tree. I got your shoe out of the tree.
So if everyone's wondering what Jay's referring to, on the day that we gave Imre his new lattice shoe, Imre was running out in front of Dinsmore and actually kicked his old shoe up about 20 feet into a tree. And we had to fish it out of the tree this weekend and bring it down.
He was finished with that. He's ready for the new generation.
Exactly.
I was gonna leave it in the tree, Emery. The only reason why I brought it I got it down from the tree is just so I had something to show people today as to, we don't want you to have to wear one of these anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's really exciting for us because it wasn't just Jay and I that did this project. There was a handful of people at Carbon that assisted within this. Imre and Dan giving us the data. I mean, starting from nothing, just replacing out the original foam shoe, we need some type of data to begin with. And Dan really allowed us to give us a start by telling us what Imre needed to do. And now that Imre has it, he's able to provide feedback to us on what he needed to do better. And for me, enabling a kid to be a kid is huge. And he's able to do everything that any other kid would do and smile on his face, and it just makes it super exciting to get version 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't wait to show the world where this goes to. A big part of this project, like we spoke earlier, is the back-end development to support Imre's growth. So that's pretty much finished, and now we'll just be supplying new shit to Imre.
Yeah, I want to give a thanks to, like Jay said, there was a lot of people involved in this, and you know, a special thanks again to everybody, all my staff here at Dinsmore, everybody at Carbon, again, Adidas for allowing us to do this. And there's nothing better to work on, in my opinion, than, you know, changing somebody's lives or, you know, saving somebody's lives, which we do that type of work here as well with anatomical models. And a huge thank you to the Patterson family. You guys are some of the most genuine, loving, caring, unique, and just what you see is what you get. And it's I'm so happy and stoked to have met you guys, and that we get to go on this journey with you. You know, Flavio, I don't think he's on here today, the friend of the Pattersons who introduced us. and just everybody else involved. I mean, it's just really cool and really special to work on something, and a program like this is just really awesome and changing. I can't wait to go on that trail with you, Emery, here pretty quick, buddy.
Do the same.
Which trail was it again?
Which trail do you want to do? Romero Canyon?
You're
Romero
Hi, Emery.
Canyon.
I'm Ondira from Link3D. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yeah, thank you.
You have almost 700 people watching you.
Wow.
A lot, right?
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
This is great. This is great.
Jason and Jay, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
We do have a few questions on our Q&A from the attendees, if you'd like to answer those for just a few minutes. Perfect. So the first one from Mr. Peter Rogers. I love this solution and love how you made this child's life better through AM. How can this solution scale to help all children? Or what are the challenges to achieving that?
Well, this is a tough one because, this was done non-standard. I mean, it's very unique that we had a family like the Patterson family that just want to get Imre a solution without all the red tape. And I think that's the difference here. We were able to fast track and put something in Imre's hands while making sure we didn't affect other areas, and we moved it forward. Any other project like this can move forward, but there's a lot of red tape involved. And I think showing these stories and what we can do could help bring those barriers down to get more custom solutions out there.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, this is a huge educational thing for the world and just community to see. Emery, I think yesterday Dan had mentioned to me, asked about how many other kids out there are like him, and there's quite a few. So it's a great question. I think part of it is getting insurance companies maybe with billing codes and things like that to be able to put these things more readily into the flow for kids, and it may be a little bit more expensive on the front end to do it, but if you start thinking about on the back end of if they have something that is lightweight that really helps them to have a better life, and they can do more and more performance, and maybe lessen the risk of having more revision surgeries in the future, maybe something along those lines. Kind of like the anatomical models that we do right now for surgeries, that cuts down on the revisions needed. So.
Peter, I'd love to see this solution out there and adopted more day by day, and hopefully we can help influence that.
Can I chime in on something real fast?
Absolutely.
We go to this event down in Los Angeles, which is unfortunately canceled this year. But Angel City Games is called, and it's like a Paralympic event. But I started talking to people at different vendor booths who do prosthetics, orthotics, kind of about what we were doing. And this is so unique that when I started describing it, just the look in their eye was like, oh my gosh, this is such a game changer, potentially. And they were so impressed that a company was willing to cut through red tape to be able to make it happen. But I just know that there is a tremendous amount of interest just from my conversations at this event and with our doctor down at UCLA, Dr. Anthony Scaduto. People are very excited about what this type of technology could bring, but have no idea how to bring it into the marketplace, easily.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Patterson family, for joining us today. And thank you to Jay and Jason as well. Since we're about out of time, I know there's quite a few questions left. You'll be able to find Jay and Jason on the virtual networking tables for Dinsmore and Carbon. I believe Dinsmore is on floor 5, Carbon's on floor 2. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you soon, everybody.
Everyone stay safe out there.
Stay safe, everybody. Thank you.